I think investing in yourself is the most important thing a leader, an entrepreneur, and a business owner can do. Without investing in yourself, you can't invest in your team. You can't
Mm,
bring your team onto the actual mission and vision that you have for your business.
yeah.
So investing in yourself, I think, is number one. As you
Mm,
grow yourself, you're able to grow your team. You're able to teach your team the things that you're learning, but it's also going to help professionalize, like I said, your operations, professionalize exactly how you do business, actually break through those gaps that you're having in your revenue, right? And I think investing in yourself, I like to call it becoming a hero on a mission. You leave the victim mentality behind and you become the hero.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Real Talks Podcast. I have a special guest here today, a fellow business coach. And you might be asking, hey, Jay, you're a business advisor, you're a coach. Why do you have another business advisor or a coach onto your show from a different, agency or a different company? Well, I'll tell you, the world is abundant, right? There's 8 billion people in the world. There's not many business coaches available. So I truly believe that collaboration is the new currency. You collaborate with other entrepreneurs, business owners, coaches, and all that stuff, and create something valuable for the people. And that's really what we're all about, right? It's not necessarily just about making money; it's about helping and serving others. So, nonetheless, I want to introduce you to this guy named Adrian. Him and I actually met through social media, and personally, we haven't met, but I'm sure we will in the very near future. But for our viewers and our listeners, Adrian, welcome to the show. Welcome to Real Talks Podcast. And if you could please let us know who you are and who you serve.
Yes, thank you, Jay. Thank you for introducing me, of course, to this podcast. Thank you for having me as a
Of
guest.
course.
Of course, my name is Adrian Marquez. I'm a certified business coach. I actually help service-based businesses with the six-step proven plan to optimize their business for revenue and profit. What we actually do
Nice.
is we dive deep in and we professionalize your organization so you can break through those revenue gaps that you've been having.
Very, very cool, Adrian. And so, as far as the company you got certified with, because for me, obviously, I got certified and became a partner with Grant Cardone's business consulting firm. But what about you, man? Like, tell us about the company that you're associated with.
Yeah, so I actually got associated with Donald Miller. I'm sure a lot of you have heard about StoryBrand, How to Grow Your Small Business book, as well as Coach Builder. So
Hmm.
that's kind of where I came in through. I met Donald
Nice.
Miller a couple of years ago. He kind of mentored me, coached me through kind of like the frameworks that he uses with his clients.
Yeah.
Got certified in those frameworks, and that's
Nice.
kind of how I came upon being
Very
a
cool.
business coach. But yeah, the frameworks is really what breaks down how to grow your small business, how we use the how to grow your small business analogy as the airplane module as I have here in the back.
Yeah.
And I'm sure
Yeah.
we'll dive deep into that later on.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because you mentioned something that's very important, right? Like a specific framework. There's different frameworks that people use, and not just one framework works. So for us at 10X, we have a different methodology in the system that works for us and our clients. And then obviously for you, Dolan Miller, just a different kind of framework. And that being said, could you share a little bit about the framework and how it works?
Sure, yeah. So it's a six-step plan. What we like to think is your business runs like an airplane, right? Where we have
Hmm.
your leadership is the cockpit,
Yep.
the right engine is your marketing, the left engine is your sales, the wings of that airplane are your products or services, the body of your airplane, of course, is your overhead and cash flow, and then I'm sorry, your overhead and operations, and then the fuel
Hmm.
tanks are the cash flow. Of course, usually where I talk to small businesses, we see them here in the operations, right? If we're using this metaphor, uh,
Hmm.
passing out crackers, passing out waters to their clients, where we should have them right here in the leadership part, right?
Hmm.
Driving the plane. They're the visionaries. They're the ones with the mission, the ones with the vision. So
Yeah,
sometimes we just got to shift their position, put a different hat on, and that business continues to grow and scale.
that's really cool, man. And like, so for you, before becoming a business coach, through Donald Miller's program, like, tell me, like what were you doing before then? Did you already have a different business prior to, and what really got you attracted to doing the coaching program?
Yeah, so as soon as I graduated from high school, I started my
Mhm.
own small business. I went
Nice.
into repairing cars, doing body work, mechanics, things like that. So I started my own shop. It was going good for
Nice.
the first 6 months. I mean, we were busy. But
Yeah.
then, of course, you start a business. You're not an expert in logistics, marketing, sales. You
Yeah.
know how to do the service, right? But
Right.
you're not an expert in running the business. So that's kind of how that happened. I was young, straight out of high school. First 6 months we were good. From there we had to shut down, of course. After that I moved into insurance. I actually worked for Patrick David for a little bit, did some
Oh,
insurance,
cool.
kind of selling, learning from him all of that good material, of course, that he teaches. And
Yeah,
from there
yeah.
I moved into sales, and that's kind of where I made my money, made my success in sales. And the first year, I mean, I just knocked it out the park. Every single sales rep on my team, I mean, I knocked them out. And it was my first year. From
Dude,
there,
that's
they moved
awesome.
me up to sales coach. So now I was training the new guys coming in, teaching everybody else how to actually, grow and scale. And what I
Yeah.
actually used was the framework that we use here for Donald Mill to sell, which is that
Gotcha.
sales script framework. So that's kind of how I came upon, the framework, and making sure that it worked before going out to clients and actually using it. No.
Very nice. Well, you and I have an understanding how important sales is, but at the same time, for newer entrepreneurs, right?
Mhm.
The focus that we always tell people, the ones that we work with at least, is that if you're a new entrepreneur, you're a new business owner, the biggest focus that you need to really do is marketing and sales. And obviously you and I have have an understanding that sales and marketing are completely different, but they do work hand in hand, right? And for you, in your own words, Adrian, could you tell me what your thoughts are when it comes to the sales and the marketing portion?
Yeah, so a lot of people, of course, they're different departments, but they have to work the same. If you don't work
Hmm.
on one, the other one doesn't work. You have to do both, right? And of
Yeah.
course, where that starts is your marketing. You have to start clarifying your marketing message, making sure that your customers are engaging with the content that you're throwing out there.
Yeah.
From there, that's when you come up and you do your sales process, your sales funnel, and you actually create that back end where you're able to use both departments, to grow that business. And like we use it here in the airplane module, right? Without those two engines, where's the business going to go, right? That's
True.
the thrust you need in your business.
Yeah, absolutely true, man. And that's that's definitely very true. A lot of the things that we teach, especially for entrepreneurs that are making really less than $1 million, is to truly focus on those. And what we find out is that a lot of them really have no experience or knowledge in how to market their business and their brand. And as you mentioned, when you first started right out of high school, which is amazing, by the way. I wish like I had the entrepreneurial mindset when I was younger, but I didn't. I served our country first, and then I kind of grew interest as I went along. But nonetheless, a lot of entrepreneurs typically are very good at what they do in their specific industry or niche, but not necessarily running a business, right? Because as you already know, there's different components of what a business need to have and to be running smoothly and operationally. But for the entrepreneurs, they're typically the subject matter expert. Let's say, for example, like with like in the auto industry, right? Let's say you're doing repairs. Like you must be very good in, let's say, for example, like working on engines because you grew up learning with your father, your family member, or a friend, like how to take apart an engine and so on and so forth. But you probably don't have experience running a business, right? And that's why a lot of people fail as well or give up because of that. But marketing and sales, they do go hand in hand. Although they're different, they have to be um, operating at a very high level. So, with the marketing techniques that we teach within Cardin Ventures or 10x, is that we leverage different components of the marketing. So we teach on content creation. We teach on basically like doing different things as far as paid ads, funnels, and all that stuff. I'm sure you guys have something very similar that you teach your clients, and if so, could you kind of elaborate a little bit more?
Yeah, so first, before we even start into running ads, what we like to do is actually clarify the marketing message. So what that comes down to is one, starting with the problem, right? People
Hmm.
only buy a product or service if it solves a problem for them.
Yeah.
If it makes them survive and thrive, they're going to buy it. So that's why you have to start with the problem. That's going to help that client, of course, your prospects engage with your content. From there, you have
Absolutely.
to position yourself as the solution to their problem. From there, that's when you can start creating all that collateral marketing messaging, of course, your website, how it is that you actually structure your framework for your website to convert more leads, right? So all of that really comes down to the framework, the systems that you put into place. But it really just depends on what is working for you. Every single
Yeah.
business runs different. So what works for you might not work for the other business owner or for your friend. So everybody has to try different systems and processes and find the one that really works for you.
Yeah, no, that's the truth right there, man. Paid ads, I don't recommend it until they're making some, like, really, I would say some revenue. I would like, for me, when I work with a client that's newer, let's say their revenue is still around, like, 100,000, somewhere around there. Even at that point, I don't tell them to spend money on paid ads, and the reason being is because it can cost a lot of money, and you have to learn and dial it down completely. And if you don't have the budget to, like, do A/B testings on ads, it could cost a decent amount. And even with me, right, I don't really use a lot of paid ads to promote my business, because I do have a couple of different service-based businesses. But you know uh, between hiring a marketing agency and then also paying for the ad spend, which right now, if you're focusing on, like, Instagram or Meta, it's gotten so high to where, as I remember a cost per click at one point was around $180, which is like, if you think about it, within a month we went through our your marketing budget quickly. So I don't always teach that right off the bat, but I do go over it with them. But what we do focus on is basically like content marketing, DMing, and email campaigns, because those are, like, a lot cheaper compared to really running paid ads. And even with paid ads, you could spend, 10, 20, 30, $50,000 on ads and really get barely anything back in return. So, for sure, it's something that's important, but you just have to be strategic on how to leverage, like, marketing where you're at in your business. And yeah, so my next question too, Adrian, for you is, like, if you could kind of go over a little bit about your sales framework that you guys teach. Sales to me is quite easy if you understand the art and science behind it.
Exactly.
And a lot of people, what I've seen too, is the fact that you could teach them the foundation, but if they don't repeat and practice sales, they have a hard time. I strongly feel like a well-versed salesperson is somebody that trains on a daily basis. Um, we train on a daily basis. We have Cardin um, University, where we go over a lot of sales training, the processes and everything else, the framework, and, like, really, like, going deep dive in the different stages or levels of our sales process. But for you, like, is your sales process, you know easy to understand and to learn and practice?
Yeah, so the sales process is easy to understand and practice, and of course, apply to your business. But
Yeah.
what comes down to it is actually creating $1 million sales script so that you're able to have, those sound bites and those clips that you're able to actually use when you're talking to clients, when you're out
Hmm.
there promoting yourself. That one liner that you always, throw out every time somebody asks you what it is that you do. All of that really comes down to your sales, right? And before you even move on to the sales process, it comes down to three things, right? It's one, getting them engaged, getting them curious, and then enlightening them with everything that you have. After you give them all of that info, then they're going to tell you if they're ready to make a decision or if they're not. But of course, your follow up comes into that. When you lose a lot of leads, I know when I come and talk to small business owners, they don't do follow ups, right? They let the leads
Hmm.
go. And it's like, guys, where are your follow-ups? As soon as
Right.
they send out that one follow-up email, I mean, they start closing deals. But of course, it comes down to the framework. So, my sales process, or the framework that we use to really create that sales script, or that $1 million sales script, is one, starting with the problem. Two, positioning yourself as the solution to that problem. Three, giving the customer a three-step plan. And this one's really important because
Hmm.
usually people remember things in threes, right? If we have an emergency, we call 911. If we start on fire, stop, drop, and roll, right? There's a reason why they made them three steps because that's how people remember it. So giving them a three-step plan saying, hey, it's really easy to work with me. Step one, we do this. Step two, we do this. Step three, you have that success,
Yeah.
right? That you're looking for. That is going to make it easier for that prospect, one, to make a decision, but also know how it is that you actually work, and they can prospect other people for you. Hey, you know what? It was really to work with Jay. One, we did this. Two, we did this. Three, look at me. I'm making money, right? That's kind of how that three-step plan works. After that, you have to make sure that you paint the stakes negative. What's going to continue to happen to them if they don't work with you, right? What are the pain points that they're going to continue to have? The stress, the frustration. After that, you pinpoint the positive stakes of what it is that they're actually going to feel, that transformation they're going to feel after they work with you or after that program that you're trying to sell. And then, of course, call them to action. A lot of people don't call to action, and that's the big one, right? That end is calling them to action. Give them your credit card, give them, a lead generator, whatever that is, call them to action. So that's that framework that
Absolutely.
we use.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I I strongly believe that you have to be very good at closing people, and regardless of whether um, you're selling a product or a different kinds of services, whether you're a marketing agency, you're a coach, we all are in sales, and regardless of how we say it or how you say it, you have to learn how to do it right. And
Mhm.
a lot of the times, you mentioned a couple of different things in that, which I really like, and we practice as well. And that is having an actual script. And
Mhm.
it might sound salesy and everything else, but it's definitely very, very useful to getting you to structure your conversation with a prospect or a particular client, right? But having a sales script specifically allows you to definitely still go in a flow without necessarily sounding robotic. And some people will tell you, "Oh, I hate using sales scripts and everything else," but what I do know and have found out is that the people that have started with the foundation of, all right, I'm going to learn how to leverage this particular script
Mhm.
because it pertains into how to align our product or our services, but at the same time it allows me to ask the right questions um, to my clients and everything else. And so um, a lot of the times the people that are following a script by somebody who's just kind of winging it, you could tell that the ratio of closing is completely different, right? There's people that have done sales for, I don't know, 10, 20 plus years. They don't need a script. They've been doing this, and they could do it
It's
with
accurate.
with yeah, exactly, right? It's already all in their brains. Like, that's something for me, to be transparent. I've um while I was in the military, I was teaching sales because as a recruiter for the U.S. military, you have to sell a lifestyle, and it's not like you're just selling, like, all right, it's a 3 month coaching program and that's it. Uh, I remember we were selling a complete, like, complete change in their lifestyle. That's like 4 to 6 years of their life. That's why, like, I'm like, dude, if you could sell somebody to serve their country by allowing them to understand the features and the benefits of serving, like, you could sell anything, to be honest, in my opinion, because not this there's only like 1% of Americans or lawful abiding citizens that live in the United States that actually serve, and even that is cut into different pies, pieces of the pie, because there's different services, and so you have to be really, really good. And I remember whichever region we were in, I was a part of, my goal was to always be the top service in recruitment every year, and we did that, and all my recruiters all starts from a script too, and so I understand how important it is. And so when I got into the entrepreneurial side, when I got into the business, I'm like, yeah, we definitely need the script, and that actually helped me out as a new service based business, because I'm like, all right, cool, I know sales, but at the same time, I got to put together a script to when I'm asking questions to a potential, prospect or a client. And so that helped me scale my business within the first year. And within the second year, obviously there's a lot of different components into it. We got to seven figures with a just a matter of six people, five team members, including myself, which is pretty cool. And I'm always, very proud of that. But a lot of the stuff that um, I leverage when I was a new entrepreneur is actually following a foundation, following a sales script. But guess what? I hired my very first business coach. I didn't do it by myself. This is before I even got into 10x to being a partner with Grant Cardone. I knew how mentorship and having a coach could help me, be successful in business. Could have I done it by myself? Yeah, I could have. I'm very resourceful. I'm very motivated and self disciplined, but I didn't want to wait too long. And I know having a business coach who's done it already, who's already have helped other people, I knew that was going to be a key piece of my success. So um, I remember when I first did a sales call with them. And this is me not knowing about sales calls or anything, right? I just knew I had to get a coach. And so when I first got onto this call, I'm like, all right, cool. This guy is asking me these questions and all of that stuff. And then I'm like, oh, I gave him some answers. And really, I was an easy sale because I already knew what I was going in there for. But I was giving him some answers. And then he just basically tied it all in together from what I said and what I needed and said, boom, you know what? Based on what you told us, Jay, these are the things that we can help you out with as well. And so I'm like, cool, let's go to work, let's make it happen. And then he goes, all right, well, we will, you either take it, with a Visa or a MasterCard or a wire, but we'll take 10 grand. I'm like, ooh, 10 grand. Like I'd never spent money like that before, ever. And I'm like, dang, I didn't know it would cost that much. I thought it's like $2,000. I'll be good. So, but I knew I had to bite the bullet, and I didn't have a lot of money at the time. I maybe had about at the time. I remember at my bank account was maybe 18 grand. I'm like, damn, I'm gonna put 10 grand. That's like 60% of my savings. But you know
Yeah.
what? It is what it is. I said I'm gonna get that money back,
Mhm.
and I'm
Yes.
gonna learn from my business coach. And thankfully I had a good business coach who helped and trained me the right way and showed me the ropes. And I actually 10x that within the first 3 months. So I got that money back the first month, actually the first 3 weeks, and then some. And I was like, dude, like I I'm like, I just found like the secret,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is not a secret. It's basically learning from somebody who's been where you want to be, right?
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
so I always tell people, whether they work with me, they work with a competitor, or somebody else, I always tell them, work with somebody, get a mentor, get a coach, work with somebody that can definitely help you out and guide you in the right direction. Because most of the time, if you do not have somebody in your corner to help you, it's going to be a huge struggle. You're going to be frustrated. You're going to be very disappointed. You're going to lose out on a lot of money, you know?
I
And
remember.
so, yeah, absolutely. So for me, and you understand this as well, Adrian, that, having a business coach to help you grow and scale your business and get more revenue to me is important. And, yeah, that's why I'm glad to kind of, hear more about you and your process and basically who you're trying to help. So and I like the fact that you and I are collaborating here and we're promoting each other, because they need more of us, right?
Yeah.
So but Adrian, for you, man, like kind of like going back in what you've seen as far as the reasons why business owners and entrepreneurs fail, could you kind of share a little bit more about that and what your thoughts are?
Yeah, so it comes down to two main important things or two
Yeah.
parts of the business, right? It's
Yeah.
going to be your leadership department and that's going to be
mm,
your cash flow department. Okay.
mm,
Now, without cash, your business will crash. Okay.
yeah.
You need cash in your business, you need that
Right.
cash flow, right?
Right. There you go.
And
Yeah.
an entrepreneur would rather go and waste the money or go and make more money than manage the money they're already making. And
Mm.
that's what makes the big difference in a small business, right? Managing the money you're making, because of
Yeah,
course that's going to mean you're going to have money to invest, you're going to have money left over. Payroll is going to be a burden, taxes aren't going to be a burden. Everything is set up in place after you're actually taking more bonuses and stuff because you have that extra money in your business, right? So that's one of the departments. The second one is leadership, right? Everybody has um, who I like to call them uh, stupid advisors. I know it's bad, but
mm-hmm.
they have a lot of stupid advisors instead of leaders, right? Let's
Mm.
teach them the right frameworks. Let's invest in your team and let's make them leaders, not bosses, not managers. Let's make them leaders because
I
that's
love
going to
that.
take your production to the next level. Your management, your overhead, your operations is just going to professionalize itself and run so much smoother when you invest back in your team and into your leadership department.
100%. 100%. Leadership is certainly key. You you can't grow a business without having the right leader in place, because a leader is somebody who's the visionary, the builder, right? And you need to have that, uh, basically to lead the team, to run the operations and everything else. And it's definitely something that's, I value the most too when it comes to growing a business, because you can have a bunch of, employees and staff, but if you have a weak leader, somebody that can't communicate well, who can't relate and, inspire the team, it's going to be difficult to grow. And so, to me, leadership is very important. As a matter of fact, like I didn't really, other than going to college, right? The mandatory books that you have to read. Um, like I remember when I went through my masters, and I one of the books that I presented was from John Maxwell. I don't know if you ever heard of him. John Maxwell's one of the best authors and leadership gurus today, that I still follow. Um, and he talked a lot about, him and Simon Sinek. Have you ever heard of Simon Sinek?
Yes.
Leaders Eat Last. Actually, it's one of those other books I love the most. And uh, ever since then, like, I'm like, all right, cool. Like, leadership definitely will help you, expand, the organization, and whether you're in the military or running a small business or a big corporation, right? You got to have the right leadership. And so, I learned from people like John Maxwell and Simon Sinek, not necessarily, in person, like, but like reading their books have helped me out a lot, become a better leader, uh, than I am today. And a lot of that, for me, I follow because of those two guys. And one of the great leaders that I love, as far as, what Simon Sinek talked about, is eating last as a leader. And for me, what that means is basically you got to make sure that your job, as a manager or as a leader, not necessarily as a boss, is to make sure that your team's success is easier. And obviously, there's a lot of other components of leadership, and different, skill set that you need to have, like I mentioned, better having a better communicator, and somebody that can relate to the team and everything else. But yeah, no, I strongly believe that for sure leadership is one of the key things to growing. And for you, man, do you have any, like mentors, other than Donald Miller, that you look up to, that you still kind of learn from, whether directly or indirectly?
Yeah, I do. I do a lot of objection training, of course, because sales is one of the things I do as well. So
Yeah,
when you create that sales script, of course, you got to go with objection training after the
yeah,
sales, right? After the sales script. So of course, Jeremy Miner. I do
yeah.
a lot of Andy Elliott, Jason Wojo, of course, learning about ads and things like that, right? Um, uh, who's another one? Patrick David, of course. He's always been one
I've,
of my mentors. I used to work with him, so
yeah,
reading his new book that he just launched now. So it's a good one.
yeah, yeah,
From there,
yeah.
mm,
Oh, I
yeah,
was gonna say, I was meaning to buy that book that he just launched. Is it something about, I think it's called, like choose something about choose your enemy, or something like that. What do you remember the title?
I don't remember the title. I have to check Like I have
Yeah,
it
yeah.
in the living room.
No
But
worries, but yeah, I've been meaning to actually
read
get
it.
that book. It's got five stars already on Amazon, so that's awesome.
Yeah, it is a good read. I'm on the first chapter, so I'm
Gotcha.
still working through it. But yeah, it is a
Yeah,
good read. I totally recommend it.
yeah,
But yeah, those
yeah.
are a couple of my mentors, kind of people I learn from. Of course, you got to learn from people who you want to be, right? Someone always higher than you. And I do have my own business coach who has his own consulting agency, uh, so he helps me as well.
That's
Because if
really
not,
cool,
you
dude.
lose a lot of money, you lose a lot of time, and of course, coming back to leadership, if you don't have that leadership in place, you're gonna lose your top talent. You're not gonna know how to manage that top talent, and you're not gonna hire top talent, and that's really what defines your business. So
100%. And we do say exactly, or not exactly. It relates to kind of each other, like the top reasons why a business fail, and it's basically the lack of like finding the right people, I guess, and it pertains to leadership too, because you got to have that right visionary to be able to attract the right people and the right talent into your team. The lack of funds, right? The
self-vision.
capital. Um, you can run out of money real quick, especially if you're just starting out. And if you don't have the right amount of money, within your budget, you can fail quick, because you can't operate without capital, without having a overhead cost in the business, right? So that's the second piece, and then basically the third piece is, you, no one's buying from you, you know,
Yeah,
and it could be a variety of different reasons why, because you lack sales, you lack marketing, you lack the right people,
right offer.
operations, the right offer, absolutely. And so it all pertains to a lot of those things, and that's really key. And it is cool to see that although we probably say the same, different things as far as frameworks or marketing strategy or terminologies, a lot of it really it's very very similar,
Yeah,
in ways to grow the business itself. And for me, I'm so blessed to learn from people that I aspire to be. And my world used to be so small back then, but now I'm able to really expand and get into the right rooms. People like Jeremy Miner. I've studied his framework in his sales, and which is really good. Then you got Andy Elliott. That boy's a beast. He
hmm,
started off also as a used car salesman with very little money in his pocket to now building a nine-figure, coaching empire. Right? They teach and coach on sales, and I think also, like, I think fitness now, because they're all like all him and his team members. They're all like
ripped.
they look like warriors, man.
Yeah,
Like I think you got to have a six pack to work under Andy Elliott's team in Arizona. But that's super super cool. I love that. I love that culture that he put together there. I actually met him in person, maybe about a little over a year ago in Las Vegas. I attended a world conference for entrepreneurs and content creators and real estate professionals. But Andy Elliott was one of the guest speakers there, and I remember he got on stage with his tight shirt and everything else. He was yelling because he's very energetic, right? And he was just getting the people into it. There's people like myself who enjoyed it. I'm like, yeah, let's go. But there's quite a few who's like, oh man, this guy's a little bit too much for me.
yeah,
But you gotta have that energy, as a speaker or just in general. I think that's just who he is as a person. Um, but I like his approach, man. It's very aggressive, although I'm not aggressive at all. I'm completely opposite of that. I'm more of like a I guess thought provoking coach type. Like I like to ask, like, relevant thought provoking questions and getting you to expand your thoughts in moving forward. Whereas I think it with his sales technique, which as a matter of fact, I do actually have one of his books. It's like just like a booklet of his sales framework. I haven't read it
nice.
yet. I think
I
the
have it.
A to Z of something is here somewhere. Actually, yeah, no, I have it. One second. Yeah, there you go. Andy Elliott's A to Z business build,
Business build.
and I just don't learn necessarily from Grant Cardone. I like to learn from other people too, because I have a belief that, again, as I mentioned, like not one sales framework works. Like there's different sales framework. I use something different. It might be old school back then, but it worked. It worked for me. So just different strategies and frameworks. But for me, I like to learn from other people. Like, oh, I'm just not going to learn from our sales framework because that's the only one that works. Now I want to learn from others as well and incorporate that into my own business, and also at the same time incorporate it to teaching my people. And so if it's something that I'm like, what, Andy Elliott uses this framework, we can try that. I can teach it to them, and that's the beauty of being a business coach, right? We're always continuing to grow. Yes, we teach them our frameworks, but at the same time, having that more like other knowledge that you can get from your toolbox that you can share and help others. Like I don't have any issues of doing that. And definitely I reference people. Like I'll tell them, hey, I learned this from Andy Elliott. I want to teach it to you, and I want you to apply that for your own particular business. But yeah, man. Nonetheless, next question for you, Adrian. I know you and I talk. I know you're, I think, an hour ahead of California or Pacific Standard Time. Where are you located at? And then, as far as your particular clients that you want to work with, are they just local to you, or are you okay working virtually across the United States?
Yeah, so I work virtually. I do have a couple clients here in town, but most of them are virtually. I
Gotcha.
do work with companies. Of course, home service-based businesses,
Yeah.
helping them set the systems, of course, manage the people because they're the ones that have the most people, right? Getting that
Oh, okay.
leadership position.
Yeah.
But of course, it's either between, I have three stages. So it's either taking them from 0 to 1 million, one
Hmm.
million to five, and then, of course, it's doubling your revenue from there.
Yeah. No, very, very cool, man. Does Donald Miller's program, do you guys have like workshops as well that you guys like put together, or how does that work?
Yeah, so I have like deliverables, keynotes, and things like that where I'm able to do webinars, workshops, and kind of give those deliverables out. So yeah, we do a lot of that. Of course, it's a lot of different coaches, so you can find different workshops of other coaches doing maybe the same workshop.
Yeah.
I like to kind of incorporate my own little thing, a little bit of networking, a little bit of teaching, and then a little bit of hot seating some people because I know a lot of people have problems. So hot seating somebody, actually seeing me coach somebody live, it
Yeah.
really helps other people learn. So that's kind of how I incorporate that.
Yeah, I like that. Could you tell us a little bit more about what hot seating is for the people that don't understand what it is?
Yeah, so a hot seat, let's say if I'm having either a networking event, a workshop, you come on, you're asking me questions, and I
Yeah.
actually coach you through it. So, it's actually, like if me and you right now, hot seating you, you're on live, everybody else is watching you, and I'm actually coaching you, helping through your business. Of course, it's free, but it does help a lot of other people, which is what I like, is everybody else is learning from that hot seat.
Yeah.
So you might feel a little bit, um,
Nervous.
nervous,
Yeah.
intimidated, but you just have to go with it because, of course, it's going to help you make money. It's going to help you grow your business, but it's also going to help everybody else who's watching.
Absolutely. I Some people disagree with hot seating, and I love it. I love it because it puts you on your toes, and if you're not prepared, you're gonna want to prepare, right? Being in a group, when we, let's say we're doing like a sales coaching, right? We do role plays in the morning, and basically when we have a hot seat, if nobody volunteers, you pick one of our mentees and everything else, and if they're not prepared, they'll be very nervous, and then they'll excuse my language, they'll mess up, right? They'll fuck it up, and everybody's watching, and other other business owners and entrepreneurs. And I know for a fact that the next time they get on a hot seat, they'll be much more prepared. Which I know that for a fact because that's happened to me before when I was, and I hate not being ready. And I got voluntold basically, and it was in the conference, and I'm like, I wasn't paying attention at the time. This was years and years ago, and I couldn't really answer properly, And I'm like, man, that's embarrassing. I made sure that the next time we got together, I was fully prepared and actually volunteered and then showed him like, dude, I'm good. So
Yeah.
yeah, hot seating for me, it's it's I think it's important as well. And I also remember this one guy that I used to teach. He was the most shy individual. He doesn't like cold calling. He doesn't like DMing and everything else. I'm like, dude, why are you in business, man? That's part of it, you know. But he's relying on um, other people to do the dirty work for him. But I told him, dude, you can't hire out those skill set yet. You have to learn it first, because what happens is that when you get somebody on your team, they might, if they're good, but you're not, and then somehow they get stuck at some point in the process. What can you do to teach them and help them, right? If you're not able to like learn it yourself, how can your team and your teammates grow? So for sure, that's a huge help, man. But I could say my last question that I want to ask you. Then I want to ask you to provide some advice to our viewers and our listeners. Um, what are your thoughts, though, on investing in your personal and professional growth?
I think investing in yourself is the most important thing a leader, an entrepreneur, and a business owner can do.
Yeah.
Without investing in yourself, you can't invest in your team. You can't
Mm,
bring your team onto the actual mission and vision that you have for your business.
yeah.
So investing in yourself, I think, is number one. As you
Mm,
grow yourself, you're able to grow your team. You're able to teach your team the things that you're learning, but it's also going to help professionalize, like I said, your operations, professionalize exactly how you do business to actually break through those gaps that you're having in your revenue, right? And I think investing in yourself, I like to call it becoming a hero on a mission, which is you
mm,
stop, you leave the victim mentality behind, the
yeah.
excuses, and you become the hero. Get in the seat and you do the job, right? You have the bias towards action and you just get it done.
Super cool, brother. Super cool. Thank you for that. Okay, well, Adrian, it's great to have you on the show, man. I appreciate your consistency. You're a great communicator. I love how you professional you are, and I'm pretty positive that you'd be able to help a lot of other entrepreneurs and business owners as well. So, but that being said, last question. I want you to give an advice to uh, a new entrepreneur that's watching our show, or somebody just maybe they want to become an entrepreneur but they haven't taken the next step yet. But if you could speak to them now, what would you tell them?
I would tell them to have the bias towards action. A lot of people have made money, even if you don't know what you're doing, as long as you start and you start taking those actionable steps to move forward, you're going to beat the competition just because you took action. So stop wasting time. Stop, leave the excuses behind. Just take action. Start. If you're holding back, God has given you a vision. God has shown you, exactly where you need to be. You just need to take the action. So I say you take your you take your first footstep forward, and you just take that bias towards action.
Very nice, man. There you guys, man. That you've heard from Adrian, another business coach who's here to serve and help others grow and scale their business. And Adrian, thank you again for being here, man. For the people who wants to connect and follow your journey or just want to work with you, could you share your Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram?
Sure, yeah, I'll go ahead and I'll give you all those links so you can share them. If not, you can also look me up at prosperbusinesscoaching.com. Has all my info and everything about my process and the services I provide. Thank you, everybody, for your time.
Awesome, awesome. Well, thank you, Adrian, and again, wish you all the best, brother. They need more of us out here in the trenches with our fellow entrepreneurs. So I appreciate you being on the show and collaborating with us here at Real Talks Podcast. So for you guys that are watching and listening, if you found this episode beneficial and helpful, please like, subscribe, and comment, and we'll see you at the next episode. Take care.